So in my last video I explained 5 characters from the book who made it to the big screen, and here I am come with the second part of this video where I will explain more 5 creatures of Harry Potter novel. So without wasting any moment, let's begin the video. Number 1. Giants. The giants are the very large humanoid magical being, and their height is approx 25 feet tall. Giants are not as intelligent as wizards but still capable of communicate with them in English language, and apart from that, giants had their own language for communication. Their behavior is often violent and bloodthirsty, hence Ministry of Magic flagged them as dangerous species. Giants are mainly native to two lands. First is North America and second is Europe. They had their own language, culture and society structure, and they capable of learning other language as well beside English. There was a time when giants were a force to be reckoned with in a wizarding world. They were once plentiful across the world with at least 100 different tribes. Number 2. House Elves. The House Elves are immensely devoted and loyal to their master. House Elves served wizards and witches and were usually found under the employment of old wizarding families, and House Elves must do everything that their master commanded unless they were freed. A house elf could only be freed when their master presented them with clothes. The house elves does not need anyone to perform magic. They have magic in themselves, like stupefy, appariting, Wingardium Leviosa, jinxing on objects, and many more. But still their magic was limited by the lack of the wand. But despite this thing, house elves are actually quite happy not to own a wand, because even without wand they can do routine domestic tasks. But the thing is, house elves have to obtain permission from their master before they would use their own brand of magic. Although a house elf might rarely act without permission of their master, but if they did, they would have to punish themselves for this act. And if we look into past of the house elves, then they all had been treated very brutally by their owners. House elves had no right of their own and were viewed as servants without feeling or emotions, who simply obey without thinking. House elves considered to be slaves and property rather than individuals. In some pure blood families such as the Blacks, the house elves would be beheaded when they were too old to carry tea trays. This practice was invented by Eladora Black. There's a half dozen heads of house elves mounted on a wall in 12 Grimmauld Place, and this was really such a brutal act. A veritable legion of house elves were enlisted by Hogwarts School to help out the entire school instead of serving one master. They worked in the kitchens, preparing feasts for the entire school. Helga Hufflepuff was credited with bringing the house elves to Hogwarts. Number 3. Goblins. The goblins are highly intelligent race of small magical humanoid beings in the wizarding world, and they have their own language known as gobbledygook. And goblins are the one who minted coins for wizarding world, and due to their skills with money and finances, they controlled the wizarding economy to a large extent and ran Gringotts Wizarding Bank. Just like house elves, goblins had their own type of magic and could do magic without a wand. Despite being so smart and rich, goblins were considered to be inferior by many wizards. And if we talk about their diet, they mostly consume meat, roots and fungi. The Ragnarok was the first king of the goblins during the lifetime of Godric Gryffindor. Throughout the history of the wizarding world, there had been rebellions where the goblins had fought against discrimination and prejudice. They were still considered subservient in the minds of most wizards, and they were forbidden by the ministry from carrying wands. Despite this troubled history, they had established themselves as a vital part of wizarding society, being in charge of Gringotts. Apart from their cleverness with money and finances, goblins were also very capable metalsmiths. Their silver works was well known and prized. And apart from these all things, goblins minted the galleons, sickles and nuts. Each coin was stamped with a serial number identifying the goblin who cast it. And the most famous goblin-made artifact was the Sword of Gryffindor. Number 4. Werewolves. In the wizarding world, a werewolf is a creature who normally resembles human being, but upon the complete rising of the full moon, the person became an uncontrollable, fearsome and deadly wolf. This condition is caused by an infection called lycanthropy, also known as werewolf fry. Lycanthropy was a magical illness known to be spread by contact between saliva and blood. Unfortunately, there was no cure for lycanthropy. However, some of the worst effects could be mitigated by consuming wolf's bane potion, which allowed a werewolf to retain their human mind while transformed, thus freeing from the worry of harming other humans or themselves. And the werewolf potion is very difficult to make because it contains many complicated ingredients. Werewolves were generally regarded with fear and disgust by wizarding society. People seemed to hate them even when they were in the human form. It's very difficult for a werewolf to get a job in the wizarding community, especially after the passing of restrictive anti-werewolf legislation by the very prejudiced and hateful Dolores Umbridge in the 1990s. And due to this act and discrimination, some werewolves came to hate the Wizarding Society and as such created their own society under Fenrir Greyback's leadership. The work of this society was to infect as many as people possible, especially children. The goal of this society was to having enough strength to take control over the wizarding community. The Ministry of Magic attempted to regulate werewolves and thus the relationship that existed between them and the ministry destroyed completely. Number 5. Thestrals. The Thestral are a breed of winged horse with a skeleton body, face with reptilian features and wide leathery wings that resemble a bat. Thestral are very rare and were considered dangerous by the British Ministry of Magic. Thestrals were known as omens and misfortune and auguration by the many wizards because they were visible only to those who had witnessed death at least once. Thestrals are social creatures who lived in a herd, and Thestrals are so clever. In fact, trained Thestrals were smart enough to understand their riders' words when they asked to travel to a specific location. These magical creatures could be found in dark environments, and the forest is their natural habitat. They communicate with each other throughout a shrill and strange shriek that resembles some sort of monstrous bird. Thestrals are so loyal creatures and they offer help to humans in need of transportation. If we talk about their diet, the Thestrals are carnivores and attracted to the smell of blood. Thestrals often attacked birds, but the Thestrals that lived within the Hogwarts ground were properly fed and well trained, and they did not attack other creatures or students unless seriously disturbed. And that's it guys, these were the 5 more creatures from the book who made it to the big screen with a big amount of minutes. So I hope you like this video, and if you really did then please don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I will keep bringing videos like this. So now see you in the next one. Till then take care, goodbye and stay away from the muggles.